I still remember the exact sound of that doorbell. It was not a normal ring. It was frantic, desperate, like someone was trying to break through the button itself. November in Columbus, Ohio. The kind of cold that cuts through your bones. 25 degrees outside. My wife Diane and I were sleeping peacefully in our little suburban house when that sound shattered everything. I stumbled downstairs at 2 a.m. and opened the door to find 2 shivering children standing there with trash bags at their feet. My sister Jovita stood behind them, her eyes cold and empty. What she said next froze me more than the winter air ever could. Before I share what happened next, I want to know where you are watching from tonight. Drop your location in the comments below. If this story touches your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe to join our community. Now let me take you back to that freezing night that changed my life forever. My name is Marcus. I was 30 years old when this nightmare began. I work as a software engineer, the kind of job where you sit at a computer all day solving problems that most people never think about. My wife Diane was 28, a nurse at the local hospital. We had been married for 4 years, living in a modest 3-bedroom house that we saved for years to afford. We wanted children desperately, but life had other plans. After 2 years of trying and 3 rounds of fertility treatments that drained our savings, we were still waiting for our miracle. Jovita is 5 years older than me. Growing up, she was always the golden child. Our parents gave her everything she wanted. The best clothes, the newest toys, the freedom to do whatever she pleased. I never resented her for it. That was just how things were in our family. When our parents died in a car accident 6 years ago, they left behind a modest inheritance. Jovita, being the eldest, received the larger portion. I did not fight it. I wanted to keep the peace. I wanted to believe that family meant something. She burned through that money in 3 years. Parties, expensive vacations, designer clothes, and a string of boyfriends who treated her like a queen until they got what they wanted and disappeared. Somewhere in all that chaos, she had 2 children. Mia was 5 years old, a tiny thing with curly brown hair and eyes that were too sad for her age. Jackson was 8, tall for his age, with a serious face that rarely smiled. They had different fathers, neither of whom stuck around long enough to matter. I had seen the kids maybe a handful of times over the years. Birthday parties here and there. A Christmas dinner that ended with Jovita storming out because someone suggested she slow down on the wine. I knew things were not good, but I never imagined how bad they truly were. That night in November, when I opened the door, Mia was crying so hard her little body shook. Jackson stood beside her, one arm wrapped around his sister, his face completely blank. No tears, no expression, just emptiness. At his feet were 2 black trash bags, the kind you use for yard waste, stuffed with wrinkled clothes. Jovita stood a few steps back, dressed like she was heading to a nightclub. Short dress, heavy makeup, heels that made no sense in the freezing weather. Behind her, a red sports car idled in my driveway. I could see the silhouette of someone young in the driver's seat. "They are yours now," she said, her voice flat. "I do not need them anymore." I could not process the words. They did not make sense. I asked her what she was talking about, told her to come inside, told her we could figure this out. She cut me off before I could finish. "I have an opportunity in Vegas. Brandon is 19. He makes me feel alive. We are starting fresh out there." She gestured toward the car. "You and Diane wanted kids, right? Well, now you have them. I gave them life. That is enough." I begged her to reconsider. I pointed at Mia, who was reaching toward her mother with tiny hands. I reminded her that these were her children, her flesh and blood. Jovita did not even look at them. She turned around, walked to the car, and got in the passenger seat. The engine revved, and the red sports car disappeared into the darkness. She did not hug them goodbye. She did not say she loved them. She did not even wave. Diane came running downstairs in her robe. She saw the children, saw my face, and immediately understood that something terrible had happened. Without a word, she scooped Mia into her arms and guided Jackson inside. I stood on the porch for a long time, staring at the empty street, trying to understand how my own sister could abandon her children, like they were old furniture she no longer wanted. The first few weeks were pure chaos. Mia cried constantly, asking when Mommy was coming back. Every time headlights passed our window at night, she would run to the door, convinced it was Jovita returning for them. Jackson was the opposite. He stopped talking almost entirely. He would sit by the window for hours, staring at nothing, refusing to eat more than a few bites of food. Diane and I both took leave from work. We tried calling Jovita dozens of times, but her phone had been disconnected. We had no address for her in Vegas, no way to reach her. She had simply vanished, like the children she left behind, meant nothing. We quickly discovered how neglected Mia and Jackson had been. Mia was 5 years old and could not recognize a single letter of the alphabet. She had never been enrolled in preschool. Jackson told us in one of his rare moments of speaking that they spent many nights alone while Mommy went out. Sometimes she did not come home until the next afternoon. They learned to make themselves peanut butter sandwiches because there was often nothing else in the kitchen. 3 weeks after Jovita left, Mia started having night terrors. These were not regular nightmares. She would wake up screaming, thrashing, hitting her head against the wall. Her eyes would be open, but she could not see us. She could not hear us. She was trapped in some private horror that we could not reach. The first time it happened, I thought she was dying. Diane held her for 2 hours until the episode finally passed, and Mia collapsed from exhaustion. We took her to a pediatric psychologist. The diagnosis was severe psychological trauma from sudden abandonment. The doctor explained that Mia had no way to understand why her mother left. In her mind, she must have done something wrong. She must have been bad. The therapy sessions cost $200 each, and our insurance covered almost none of it. We did not care. We would have sold the house if it meant helping her. Jackson's struggles were different but equally heartbreaking. He stopped eating almost completely. In 2 months, he lost 10 pounds from an already skinny frame. The doctor warned us he was approaching malnutrition. Through therapy, we learned that Jackson blamed himself for Jovita leaving. He had convinced himself that if he had been a better son, if he had cleaned his room more, if he had gotten better grades, his mother would have stayed. I spent hours every night sitting with Jackson, telling him over and over that none of this was his fault, that his mother's choices had nothing to do with him, that he was worthy of love exactly as he was. Most nights he just stared at me with those hollow eyes, saying nothing. But I kept talking. I kept showing up. Diane adjusted her work schedule to be home every night. She would sit beside Mia's bed until the girl fell asleep, ready to hold her through the terrors. She started teaching Mia to read, beginning with the most basic picture books. Every small success felt like a victory against the darkness Jovita had left behind. Slowly, painfully, things began to improve. 4 months after that terrible night, Mia slept through without a single episode for the first time. Jackson joined the school soccer team and actually smiled when his team won their first game. I filed for temporary guardianship through the courts, and when no one contested it, we were granted the right to make decisions for their education and health care. We converted our guest room into a proper bedroom for the kids. Bright colors on the walls, bunk beds they picked out themselves, a bookshelf that Diane filled with stories about brave children overcoming impossible odds. We started having family movie nights on Fridays. We cooked dinner together on Sundays. We were building something beautiful from the wreckage Jovita had left behind. Jovita was gone for 2 years. 730 days without a single phone call. Not one birthday card. Not a single message asking if her children were alive. She missed every milestone. Mia learning to read. Jackson making the honor roll. Their first Christmas with us. their first summer vacation, their first day at new schools, where no one knew about their past. When I filed for permanent custody, I did it with a heavy heart. Part of me still hoped Jovita would come back, would apologize, would fight for her children. The court sent summons to her last known address in Las Vegas. She did not appear for the first hearing, or the second, or the third. By the fourth missed court date, the judge had seen enough. He granted Diane and me full legal custody of Mia and Jackson. I cried that day in the courthouse. Not from happiness, though there was relief in knowing the children were legally protected. I cried because my sister had thrown away something precious, and nothing would ever undo that damage. By then, Mia and Jackson had started calling us Mom and Dad. It happened naturally without any prompting. One morning, Mia said, "Good morning, Mommy," to Diane, and we all froze for a moment before Diane smiled and said, "Good morning, sweetheart." Jackson called me Dad for the first time at a soccer game when he scored his first goal and ran toward me screaming, "Did you see that, Dad?" I held him so tight I thought I might crush him. When their school counselor asked them about their birth mother during a routine check-in, both children said they did not really remember her face. Mia thought maybe she had blonde hair, but Jovita's hair was dark brown. Jackson shrugged and changed the subject. They had moved on in the way that children do when they find safety after surviving a storm. Then one afternoon in March, my phone rang. It was the principal at Jackson's school, and her voice was tense. "Mr. Marcus, we have a situation. There is a woman at the front gate. She appears intoxicated and she is screaming about her children being stolen. She is demanding to see Jackson and Mia." My blood turned to ice. I knew exactly who it was. When I arrived at the school, I found Jovita looking nothing like I remembered. Her hair was matted and unwashed. Her clothes were wrinkled and stained. She was leaning against the fence, screaming at the security guard who blocked her path. "Those are my babies in there," she shrieked. "My brother stole them. He is keeping them prisoner. Let me see my children." Jackson and Mia had been moved to the principal's office as a precaution. When I went to check on them, Mia was crying in the corner, terrified by the commotion. Jackson looked at me with confusion in his eyes. "Dad," he asked quietly, "who is that lady? Why is she yelling?" The question broke my heart. He did not recognize his own biological mother. She had been gone so long that her face had faded from his memory entirely. I tried to calm Jovita down. I approached her slowly, speaking softly, asking her to step away from the school so we could talk privately. She responded by spitting at my feet and calling me a kidnapper. When the police arrived, she tried to run, but they caught her easily. She was arrested for public intoxication and disturbing the peace. That night, Mia had her first nightmare in 8 months. She woke up screaming for me, and when I held her, she asked why the angry lady wanted to take her away. I told her no one would ever take her anywhere. I promised her she was safe. I meant every word. 2 weeks later, at 3 a.m, I woke to the sound of breaking glass. Someone was trying to enter through our kitchen window. I grabbed the baseball bat I kept under the bed and ran downstairs to find Jovita halfway through the shattered window, her arms bleeding from the glass. "You turned them against me," she screamed, her eyes wild. "You brainwashed my kids. They are mine." "Mine." Diane called 911 while I blocked Jovita from reaching the stairs. She tried to push past me, clawing at my arms, desperate to get to the children's room. I held her back until the police arrived and pulled her out of my house. As they handcuffed her, I looked up and saw Jackson standing at the top of the stairs. He had his arms wrapped around Mia, who was crying into his chest. His face was pale with fear, but his voice was steady. "It is okay, Mia," he said softly. "Dad will protect us. He always does." A week after Jovita was released on bail, I received a call from Child Protective Services. Someone had filed a report claiming that Diane and I were physically abusing the children. that we starved them, that we locked them in closets as punishment. I knew immediately who had made the call. The CPS investigation was thorough and terrifying. A social worker came to our home and examined every room. She interviewed Jackson and Mia separately, asking them detailed questions about their daily lives. Mia told her about the bedtime stories Diane read every night. She showed off the drawings covering the refrigerator. Jackson gave the social worker a tour of their bedroom, pointing out his soccer trophies and the family photos on the walls. The agency's psychologist reviewed the children's therapy records. 2 years of documentation showed the trauma they arrived with and the healing they had achieved under our care. The records showed the thousands of dollars we spent on their treatment, the countless hours of therapy sessions, the progress reports praising their emotional development. CPS closed the case within 2 weeks. They found no evidence of abuse or neglect. Instead, they found 2 children who were thriving after years of instability. They officially warned Jovita that filing false reports was a criminal offense, but Jovita was not finished. She launched a campaign on social media posting long rants about how her brother had stolen her children. She claimed I had manipulated the courts. She said Diane had poisoned the kids against their real mother. She painted herself as a victim fighting against an unjust system. Some distant relatives believed her. I received angry phone calls from cousins I had not spoken to in years, demanding I return the children to their rightful mother. I did not argue with them. I did not try to change their minds. The people who actually knew us, who had watched us raise these children, who had seen us show up to every school event and every doctor's appointment, they knew the truth. I posted only one thing in response: a photo of our family at Disneyland from the previous summer. Diane and I in the middle, Jackson and Mia on either side, all of us laughing. The caption was simple: "My world." My Aunt Ruth, my mother's sister, called me that evening. She was crying. "Your mother would be so proud of you," she said. "You became the parent Jovita never could be." 6 months passed after the CPS investigation. Diane and I thought the worst was over. We were wrong. I was working from home on a Tuesday afternoon when the doorbell rang. I opened it to find Jovita standing there, but she looked nothing like the wild woman who had tried to break into our house. She was thin, almost gaunt. Her cheekbones jutted out sharply. Her eyes had dark circles beneath them. And she was pregnant. Very pregnant. Maybe 7 months along. "I need to tell you something," she said, her voice hoarse. "The baby. It is Ethan's." I stared at her in confusion. Ethan is my name that she used for Diane's husband, though that is wrong since I am Marcus. I realized she meant my wife's supposed affair partner. "What are you talking about?" I asked. "Your husband," she said, looking past me into the house. "He came to Vegas on a business trip. We had a connection. This baby is his." My wife Diane appeared behind me. She had heard everything. Instead of shock or anger, her face showed only exhaustion. She pulled out her phone and held it up. "Marcus has never been to Vegas," she said calmly. "He works from home. I have had his location shared on my phone every single day for the past 3 years. He has not left Ohio." Jovita's face flickered with uncertainty. She quickly changed her story. "It was here then, in Ohio. He came to visit me one night when you were at work." "When exactly?" I asked. "Give me a specific date." She could not answer. Her mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. Then her facade crumbled completely. She started crying ugly sobs that shook her frail body. "I am desperate," she admitted. "Brandon left me when he found out I was pregnant with some other guy's kid. I have nothing, no money, no place to stay. I thought maybe if I said it was yours, you would help me. You would have to help me." I should have felt angry, Part of me wanted to slam the door in her face, but looking at her standing there broken and lost, I mostly felt sad. Not for her exactly. For the waste of it all. For the children she had discarded. For the baby in her belly who would likely suffer the same fate. "You should not be here," I said quietly. "You have a restraining order against you. If I call the police, you will go back to jail." "Please," she begged. "Just let me see them. Let me see Mia and Jackson. Just for 5 minutes. I am their mother." "Do you remember their birthdays?" I asked. She did not answer. I heard a noise and looked up. Jackson was standing at the window on the second floor watching us. Mia was beside him, peeking out from behind her brother. Neither of them waved. Neither of them called out. They just watched their biological mother with the detached curiosity you might show a stranger on the street. Jovita followed my gaze and saw them. Her face crumpled. "They do not even recognize me," she whispered. "You made that choice," I said. 2 years ago, at 2 a.m., with 2 trash bags. I called the police. When they arrived, Jovita did not fight. She did not scream or curse. She just let them lead her away, looking back once at the window where the children had already disappeared. That night I sat with Jackson and Mia and explained what had happened in terms they could understand. I told them the woman was someone from our past who was having a hard time, that she used to know them when they were very little, that she would not be coming back. Jackson asked the question I had been dreading. "Is she going to take us away?" I pulled both of them close to me. "Never," I promised. "You are my kids, legally and in my heart. No one is ever going to change that." Mia wrapped her arms around my neck and squeezed tight. "I love you, Daddy," she said. It was the first time she had ever called me that. 3 months later, I heard through the family grapevine that Jovita had given birth in Las Vegas. The baby, a girl, was immediately placed in foster care. Jovita's parental rights were terminated for all 3 of her children. The cycle she had started continued with another innocent life. I did not celebrate. There was nothing to celebrate. I thought about that baby girl growing up in the system, never knowing her mother or her siblings. I thought about Mia and Jackson, who would someday have questions I might not be able to answer. Diane and I decided we would tell them the truth as they got older. Not all at once, but piece by piece, year by year. We would let them know that their biological mother had struggles we did not fully understand, that her choices were not their fault, that when they were old enough, if they wanted to find her, we would support them, but we would also make sure they knew the more important truth. That family is not defined by blood. That being a parent is not about who gives birth to you. It is about who shows up, who stays, who holds you through the night terrors, who teaches you to read, who cheers at your soccer games, who chooses you every single day, even when it is hard. I used to think that night in November was the worst thing that ever happened to me. My own sister abandoning her children on my doorstep like garbage. But now looking back, I see it differently. That night was terrible, yes, but it was also the beginning of something beautiful. Mia is 7 now. She reads chapter books on her own and wants to be a veterinarian. Jackson is 10, the captain of his soccer team, with a laugh that fills our entire house. Diane and I are not just their guardians anymore. We are their parents. Their real parents, the ones who earned that title through 1,000 small acts of love. Sometimes on quiet evenings, I watch them playing in the backyard. Jackson teaching Mia how to kick a ball. Mia showing Jackson the flowers she planted in our garden. Their laughter drifts through the window, and I feel a peace I never knew I was missing. Here is what I have learned. The children who show up on your doorstep at 2 a.m, shivering in the cold with trash bags of clothes. They are not burdens. They are not problems to solve. They might just be the greatest gift of your life. the gift you never knew you needed until it was standing right there in front of you. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever had to step up for family in ways you never expected? Have you ever found your purpose through someone else's pain? Share your story in the comments below. Your experience might help someone else who is going through something similar right now. If this story moved you, please hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and turn on notifications so you never miss another story. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that family is about more than blood. It is about showing up when it matters most. Thank you for spending this time with me today. Whatever challenges you are facing in your own life, I hope you remember this. Love is not always convenient. Sometimes it arrives at 2 a.m. with nothing but trash bags. But if you open your heart and your door, it might just change your life forever. Take care of yourselves and take care of each other. I will see you in the next one.